Hello there. It's the wrong bloody intro video, wasn't it? That's a good start. Never mind. Hi, everybody. It's Peter here, your Ginger Geordie Jedi. Welcome back to the channel for tonight's top 3, where we're looking at all things Star Wars. Really excited about this. We're going to be talking good and the bad, and we're also going to be touching a little bit on Celebration. So, I can't do it alone. So, as usual, I've assembled a crack team to surround us. We've got good old James T. How are you doing, James?
Hello there.
Oh, very good. I like that. Some good finger action. I like. Yeah. So are you well, mate? Are you good?
Bit depressed, man, to be honest. Like, we had an amazing weekend seeing each other, just gone, and I'm here nearly back to reality. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, we've gone almost a full, well, I haven't gone a full 24 hours, have we? Without seeing each other.
It would be, about that. I left you at like 6 yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, we've been missing each other, but we've also been missing this crazy character as well. Everybody's favorite attention-seeking geek, Ahsoka Ben Ahsoka. So
I'm just bringing some Togruta diversity to the channel, some species diversity.
Yes. Yeah. We like a bit of diversity.
How are you, Ben? Too hot. I'm not going to wear it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, oh my lord. Yeah. I'm sweating in my robes, I have to say. Are you feeling the same? Are you feeling a little bit depressed?
Oh, I feel like I've, honestly, like I've had a bag of drugs last night.
Okay, yeah.
The come down is really, really quite steep. You know, I struggle to manage those emotions on the best of days. So yeah, today I've just been staring into the abyss for 90%.
Well, this is going to be fun.
No, this is good. This is going to lift us out of it, and we can kind of prolong the Star Wars, love. Yeah,
for a little bit longer. Yeah. Now, we need someone to keep us in check, so we've got our very own Yoda, Efren.
What is going on, Star Wars familia? I wish I was there with you guys, but I was there in spirit.
So do we, man. Honestly,
Efren, I have to say, one of the common things that we all talked about pretty much every time we sat down for a drink and stuff was it would have been amazing if Efren was here. We would have loved to have seen you, bud. But, at some point, I'm sure, maybe it's a convention in the future, I'm sure we'll catch up. How have you been? Because we haven't seen you for a little while. You've been on holiday?
I've been on holiday. I went on a little trip to visit where my family came from, El Salvador. And I got back about a week ago, and it was a good trip. I missed WonderCon in Anaheim, but priorities, Yeah, doing well.
Good. It's good to see you, buddy. Always good to see you. Yep. Just quickly jump to the chat, see who's here. We've got good old StreamYard again. Thank you very much. We've got everybody's favorite Fuzzy Dunlop. How are you doing, Fuzzy? Thank you very much for sharing the post about this, Fuzzy. You are absolutely one in a million, and I think everybody on screen would agree that you are one of the best supporters of all of our channels. So thank you so much for that, mate.
Only.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fuzzy. We've got good old Jack. Thank you very much for joining, Jack. Always nice to see you. We've got Pete, GP Venom. Hello, Pierre.
Oh, congratulations to you, Peter. You just won GP's giveaway.
Who did?
You.
Did I? Yeah. It's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah. You heard it. Just uploaded the video.
What have I won?
A comic, I guess. I don't know. I can't remember watching the initial video, so
I think there was a slab in there or something.
Fantastic.
Nice. Something 8.5. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. We've got Andy from Perpetual Comics. Thank you very much for joining, Andy. Andy, we did manage to get you 2 fig pins, so drop us.
He says we. I gave up when I saw the queue twice, right? The queue was closed. I was like, oh, fuck it. I text Andy. I said, I'm so sorry. I can't do it. Peter came through for you, okay? It was all Peter. He lined up. He got me something that I wanted as well. So
got me a Mando fig pin.
Yeah, all the love should be
top bloke.
For Peter.
Yeah. Anyway, drop us your address again, Andy, and I shall send them to you. We've got your Ahsoka and Boba Fett, I think. Excuse me. So we've also got Wayne. Thank you very much for joining, Wayne. Okay, guys, we're going to crack on because we've got lots to get through tonight, and I want to try and get through it in an hour and a half if that is possible. Just a little bit of pre-warning. StreamYard have got an issue globally with slide sharing or something today, so it might be an issue with my slides, but hopefully it'll not cause too much of hassle. So, guys, we are here to talk Star Wars, and then he said Star Trek. We're here to talk Star
I
Wars,
swear to God, I would
and we've just fresh back, as we know, from Star Wars Celebration. So I did just want to touch on that very, very briefly before we'll continue. So myself, Ben, and James, and comic lad Simon went from our kind of close-knit community, and we met up with a lot of other people as well, YouTubers, when we were there. I come to you first, James. What was your highlight? What did you think of it overall?
I loved it. I think it was really really magical. I think when you go in there was some issues, I think, organizationally, but like the great outweighed the bad, I think. The highlight for me, we went to the Ahsoka panel, myself and yourself, Peter, and the moment we saw like an exclusive trailer where we saw Thrawn's face and it was Lars Mikkelsen, and the whole room just erupted, and I just screamed out loud. It was like, it felt like we were there for a really important moment in Star Wars history. And like for me, Thrawn is like next to Vader as my favorite Star Wars characters. That's a moment I'll always remember.
It's really strange, isn't it? Because I think we might have touched on this before. It's something about the kind of the group mentality of knowing you're safe with fellow people who love that kind of stuff. Because I've not seen The Bad Batch. I have no connection to Thrawn at all. Couldn't tell who
It's
he was.
lucky because he's not in the Bad Batch.
Yeah, he's
well, there we are. That's proving my point.
20 years of Star Wars history. And
I did that
on
purpose, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah.
But my point is, I was almost in tears on that panel. The emotion in the room, that seeing how happy your little face was, and just the general kind of, I don't know what, it's infectious. Do you know what I mean? From someone who doesn't know anything about the character, I was like, "What? Get in! It's Thor. Who's he? I don't know. Do you know what I mean?"
He said, "Who's he?" And I was like, "He plays him in the cartoon." That's like,
So yeah, it was stunning, absolutely stunning.
I'll never forget that. Really, amazing. Yeah.
Efren, obviously you weren't at this celebration, sadly, but you've been to many a celebration. So from what you've seen of this one, how does it compare to the ones you've been to?
I just, right before we went on air, I seen Ben's video on Star Wars Celebration. Very well done, Ben, by the way. It felt, looking at all those crowds, I thought this is just like Anaheim ones, just crowds and crowds, which is, even Ben mentioned that they have to do something about it. I mean, I enjoyed it, but the crowds are just too much. I don't know.
We went out. Sorry, Efren. We went out with the. We went to a party on the Friday. Was it the Friday or the Saturday night? The Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Yeah, and we ended up sat next to two of the dog handlers, the security guards, who'd been there, and they said it was busy. I can't remember the number they gave for James.
39,000. Yeah. Like it was in the 30, like the 28 to 35 for each day. Yeah.
I mean, interestingly, Ben, I don't know how you felt, but they reckoned that the Saturday was quieter than the Friday. I didn't feel that.
I don't know. I think Saturday there was one moment where I was like, this is dangerous.
Although on the Friday, I think we unfortunately tried to go and get a drink just as two of the panels released, and it was literally it was just a block of people. It was horrific. Ben, what was your highlight? Did you? I presume you enjoyed. Sorry, Efren.
Can I say one more thing? I agree with James. When you go to a panel for Star Wars Celebration, and you mentioned it too, Peter, there's just a special feeling or sensation. It's just like you forget everything else, and you're just so caught up in the moment. I love the panels at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah. When we were actually really
announcements.
We were really lucky because we were tempted to ditch it because Hayden Christensen was supposed to be on the live stage, and we were going to go queue for that. Hayden Christensen turned out to not be on the live stage at that time, and we just last second said, "All right, let's just run to the Ahsoka panel." So yeah, we were lucky. And
not even on that day in the end, was it?
Yeah, it was yesterday. I think he came on instead. Yeah.
So Ben, how about you? What are your general thoughts, and what was the best bit for you?
Yeah, I mean, so just to get the negatives out of the way, I do think the XL suffered because the traditionally when I've gone to MCMs and stuff, the front is used a lot by fans just coming in and out freely and sort of congregating at the front. The back is used in a very similar way. People come and go freely and people kind of congregate and meet and stuff like that. The back, you couldn't do that because of mass building work, like not even building work. It's like the whole area is being re-landscaped essentially, and the front you couldn't do that freely. You had to kind of go back all the way around. It was like a one-way system, so it obviously deterred people from doing that. Because of that, where people can usually move freely in the middle of the whole Excel, it became congested, and for me that was really uncomfortable, and it was something that they should have acknowledged before, or at least kind of anticipated. I also think as well there wasn't that many stalls. I know that this is an official Star Wars event, therefore it's a Disney event, therefore everyone's pretty much dictated to only sell Star Wars kind of produce, but because of that it felt very thin on the ground in terms of kind of stalls and stuff like that. And if it was busy, you wouldn't necessarily even want to kind of go to them. Things like Forbidden Planet, you obviously had to kind of queue up for like an hour or so to even get into the shop, let alone sort of buy something. So yeah, like that stuff wasn't so great, but I cannot express the joy, the happiness. I know James turned to me and he said, "I've never seen you smile like that." And it like, kind of jokes aside, like for someone that I struggle with life day to day, like I have my demons, and like Star Wars for me is just it's pure escapism, and this event completely encapsulates that, and it does it by giving you kind of props, displays made by the most passionate fans. The scale of some of these displays was just unbelievable. The stage setup alone was fantastic by Lucasfilm as well. The cosplays, the level of kind of imagination and stuff that everyone goes to cosplays, it really takes you out of life and into a place of hope, which ultimately is what Star Wars is, right? A new hope. That's the franchise is about hope, and that's what the event has done, and that's why I'm really fucking depressed today.
Just quickly jumping.
I got a little emotional when you said that, Ben. Actually, it's literally like that's how I'm feeling as well.
Have you watched the clip of Dave Filoni like nearly crying? I can't. I can't
it's
deal
beautiful.
with it.
Really beautiful.
Just going to quickly jump into the chat, guys. GP Venom's just asking here who's playing Thrawn. James.
So it's Lars Mikkelsen. So he is Mads Mikkelsen's brother, but he plays Thrawn in the Rebels in the animated series.
Andy's just mentioning there that he saw the crowds, and as much as you'd love to, he couldn't have done it. Yeah, I mean, I struggle with the crowds as well. Fuzzy's saying the same thing. The crowds are so intense, but you just kind of have to power through. But it is, the crowds are awful. Same at Comic Cons
for me
as well. Mind.
Yeah, for me, you just have to be a dick and just power forward, and let people get out of your way, or you're just.
I mean, not too much of a dick, because you get people commenting, don't you, Ben?
I don't know what you're talking about. I was going to say, James is like, you have to be a dick. I'm like, well, lucky for me.
But for me, like in terms of issues, like the main one for me was there was Wi-Fi, but it didn't work at all. And then you couldn't get signal in the building. So anytime we split up, we couldn't find each other. It was a nightmare to find each other again.
Imagine the guy at the stall asking me to pay via PayPal. I was so stressed
because all the pay machines went down, didn't they? Because of the lack of Wi-Fi at one point. Wayne's just saying, the shame the price of the tickets was a scam. To get in, I don't think the tickets were too bad, but like things like autographs and stuff were absolutely atrocious.
Oh, triple anywhere else. That's why I didn't get any. I usually there was like 4 people, 5 people. I'm like any other con, I would go get them. But
I mean, we're sounding slightly negative here, but it was a phenomenal experience.
I don't know, amazing time. Yeah, it's
Fuzzy's just forever. Sorry, mate. Fuzzy's just saying, who goes to a con to shop at Forbidden Planet? The only reason, Fuzzy, is there was a book signing. Book signing on. They did an exclusive I think it's an exclusive cover. Is it, Ben, that one?
Yeah, it's an exclusive book. The whole book is
all right. So an exclusive book, and they did exclusive fig pins that you can only apparently get at the con. Okay, guys. So what did I enjoy about it? I loved the atmosphere. I loved the feeling of it. As you can probably predict, I loved meeting all of the different cosplayers. Some of the costumes, which is absolutely mind-boggling. Best bit, obviously, for me was meeting you guys. We had a cracking time. I was in a right bad mood on the Friday, so I apologize for that. But overall, it was a cracking time. we met a load of new friends as well. We met a load of American colleagues, which was really interesting. We had a cracking night that Ben organised for a Chinese, other than flipping the tables in the restaurant by accident.
Nearly broke the table.
Nearly broke the tables.
Forgot
All the
about
waiting staff running towards her, shouting out to stop moving things around. But who bolts the base of a table to the floor, but has the top part of the table loose? I mean, that's
Makes
just
no
crazy talk.
sense at all
Yes.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Hang on. Andy wants us to go back to the Ahsoka. A lot of Ahsokas, Andy. A lot of Ahsokas.
And you know what's really nice was Ashley Eckstein came out to them
Yeah.
and gave this really beautiful speech about how much it means to her to see this character that she helped, develop.
And Ahsoka,
On top of it.
for me, was one of the key things of the convention, because we got the exclusive trailer. We got the trailer on the Friday. then we
Well,
got
me
the
and you,
exclusive
Peter, got the
trailer.
exclusive
Yeah.
trailer. Yeah,
We got the exclusive trailer. And because that was a moment that I absolutely just adored sharing with James and the guys and all the rest of it, I've decided I needed Ahsoka representing my collection, so I've already bought.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck you, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
I'm bought this
annoying.
as well. Yeah.
So Ahsoka is on her way.
That's
But I
so
needed.
annoying.
I didn't buy anything at the convention, did I, for myself?
Yeah.
So that's how I've justified that. So yeah, that was cracking. Had a great time with the guys. That was an amazing night. I want to give a special mention. I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's an Instagram chap called Agent Silver Fox, who's a guy from Scotland who was on our table on the Friday night with his wife. Absolute gentleman, an absolute star, and he made with Friday night. He was a lovely guy. So yeah, so thank you very much to him. Fuck me. I mean, I just have to say, Simon absolutely made the weekend in many ways for me. Simon's not on tonight, but we will catch up with him in a future show. He's just hilarious. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to Simon, because he did keep us laughing with his interesting little, with his interesting little tidbits all the way through. But yeah, what a character! Great time.
Yeah.
And then they've announced this Star Wars Celebration 2025 in Japan. Well, that's going to be interesting. Efren, you going to that?
We talked about it briefly. I talked to some of my other friends that live. My cousin, he wants to go, so we're thinking about it. It's 2 years away, so
Yeah.
save my
Time
penny.
to save, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for people it's going to be a shit ton of money, that, isn't it? It's a long way to travel, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with it at the moment. The thought of meeting you, Efren, appeals, I have to say. But yeah, Andy's just pointing out that the double ice cream James had looked lush. They
was
were, Andy.
delicious.
Ben treated with the 2 double ice creams, so that was very nice. Fuzzy,
My credit
hat
card.
needs to
I'll
go.
worry about it later.
And Andy would love to go to Japan. Yeah, I think we've all said on here that we'd love to give Japan a go. It's just the cost. I mean, it's going to be.
For me though, it's a dream of mine to go to Japan, and like I have never made a move to plan it. So this is a little over 2 years away. I could,
I reckon you're looking at 2-3 grand, aren't you?
Oh
By the
well,
time you
more
pay
than
for
that. I would
everything.
say probably push closer to 5. I would say.
Yeah.
For everything, depending on how long you go. So I'll discuss this with a few people and see. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So yeah, so that was our experience at Star Wars Celebration. Cracking time. I think we'll all agree we had a very good, fun time. Ben, if people want to learn a little bit more about your experiences, tell them a little bit about this.
Uploaded my vlog video, so just gives people a flavour of my experience over the weekend, my kind of opinions on it all, and just some little showcase of the sights and sounds that were on display. So I couldn't do the cosplays justice, and displays and everything like that. Absolutely superb stuff. So yeah, check that out. I'm quite proud of the video, actually.
I was going to say, I have to say, I know me, James, and everyone have all watched it in the vlog style, and the artistry, shall we say, is very, very good. So
very Edgar Wright-esque, I would say.
Yeah.
I edited it the whole way home, literally, but because of that, the time, the 3-hour train journey or whatever flew by because I was editing the whole time. So yeah.
If you want to watch a far less professional and a little bit shitter version, my video will be coming out tonight, hopefully, which is that one. So hopefully I'll get that one out later on tonight. And that's, like I say, a much rougher version, but going over a few bits and bobs. And if you want to see another very cool vlog, please do check out Richard's vlog over at Reviews with Rich. That's cracking as well. I enjoyed watching that one.
Far too
And he's a
handsome
giant.
for my liking.
I mean, he's a freaking giant, him, isn't he? He's like Chewbacca, honestly. He's
I thought it
massive.
was a ginger Wookiee for a second,
Yeah.
and then I realised
Yeah.
it was Rich.
Yeah. So please do go and check out that one over on Rich's channel. And he's just saying, did I hear a rumor that NYC is one of the post-Japan venues? They've been talking about it, and certainly the Americans that were out with were buzzing about NYC, saying that they
I
would
reckon it will be the
open
one
up.
after. Like
That'd be
2007,
Javits
27.
Center, wouldn't it? Where Comic Con's usually on.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
You see, I'm kind of up for that more than Japan, probably.
Yeah,
I would love a
I-
New York trip. Yeah.
Yeah, but like ultimately, I think that would actually cost thousands less, like literally thousands less to do.
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah, I'd be keen on doing that. Jack is saying great vlog, Ben, and Andy
Jack.
is saying the same. Video is great, and remember, I hate most things. Give me a real sense of what it was like to be there. Your piece to camera was great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okie dokie, guys. So we're here to talk Star Wars. We're here to talk our favorite scenes. Before we get into that, as I like to do, just to put you on the spot, I want one film to keep. So you can only have one of these films to keep. The rest are being binned.
No,
All right.
I'm not playing.
Yo, Efren, we're not going to start with you, Efren. We're going to start with me. So nobody else picks what I want, because you can't pick the same one. Once it's gone, it's gone. I'm going with Rogue One. I think
Fuck
that is-
you.
Just get it over. We're done. Let's go for the next.
May as well, yeah, call it quits. Thanks, guys. It's been a great night.
Bye.
I think Rogue One is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's got everything I want in a Star Wars film. So yeah, for me, I'm keeping Rogue One. Stick in the chat which film you would keep out of all of these. Who wants to go next? James.
Revenge of the Sith. I think it's just an amazing there's issues with the prequels. I think I have a lot of nostalgia for them because I watched them at a very young age, but like the emotion in that closer to that trilogy and the way it transitions into and sets up what happens in the original trilogy is just almost flawlessly done. So just an epic, really. Truly.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Ben, how about yourself?
I mean,
you can't just pick one. Pick one.
Well, no, because I would go for Return of the Jedi, but then that doesn't make sense without the other film. So I'm actually going to go for A New Hope, because ultimately that could have been the only Star Wars film ever made, So I think if it was going to be a case of just keep one and everything else that doesn't exist, then it has to be that one, because it's obviously where it all started. Kind of. It rounds off nicely at the end of the film, sort of thing. So I'm gonna go with A New Hope.
Good stuff. Good choice. How about yourself, Efren?
Well, you guys picked on my favorite. So another one, the Empire Strikes Back. It has the introduction of Yoda, that alone, and Lando Calrissian, and Planet Hoth, and it's just a classic. They say that's the best Star Wars movie. I've heard them other people. say that.
Very
general
good
consensus.
But I would have chosen Rogue One, just to let you know.
Yeah, I would have chosen Rogue One too. Yeah.
Ben?
Right.
Would you?
No one said Rise of Skywalker.
No.
No, I mean, I honestly, like, Rogue One is obviously a very special film, but no, I mean, it doesn't. I would have picked 3 films before that,
Yeah. Just quickly jumping in the chat. Andy saying Harrogate is the NYC of England. Isn't that what they say? Not sure, Andy. But yeah. Thought Bubble 2023. Looking forward to that. Yorkshire Vegas. Oh, absolutely fuzzy. Absolutely jumping. GP's picked Empire. Jack, episode 3. But a massive guilty pleasure for Solo. I liked Solo, man.
Solo's good.
Yeah, I think Solo gets a lot of grief, but it's a good movie, I think.
Yeah. I think if it was like an original character instead of Han Solo, people would love it. Honestly,
Oh wait.
But I think, I don't remember the name of the actor, but I think the guy who plays Solo is pretty good in it as well.
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
Yeah.
Recently in Cocaine Bear, which was very good in as well.
Was he? What was he in Cocaine Bear?
He's
Was he
He's
there?
like in the whole film.
yeah, he's one of the main characters in it.
He's like with Ice Cube's son, like.
All right.
Yeah.
I totally missed that. Andy, The Last Jedi, last Star Wars movie I saw with my oh yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, that's lovely, Andy. And again, that's the thing about some of these movies. It's the emotional connection that it has. Fuzzy, New Hope. Yeah. Phil, evening gents. So do you recommend I watch Star Wars? Where do I start? Star
Episode
Trek.
1.
Mate. Start with Star Trek. Don't worry about it.
I hope he's joking.
Hey, no word of a lie. We were sat with the two security guards on the Saturday night. Very interesting characters. The lady dog handler had been the bouncer for Mike Tyson and punched someone out in front of him. Anyway, whole different story. But anyway, she was saying, so what's all this Star Wars crack about them? Neither of them had ever seen a Star Wars movie. And no word of a lie, she looked at us and said, that's the one with Doctor Who in it, isn't it?
Wow.
Like,
No, the
what?
Daleks. She said
Yeah, the Daleks. Yeah. That's one with the Daleks, isn't it?
Of all the people you could have spent time with at a Star Wars celebration after party, you know, meeting like-minded fans, unbelievable.
Well, we sat with them for a bit, and then we sat with a very nice couple from Texas.
One
Where
was
they're
from
from, James?
Arizona and one was from somewhere in Florida. And
Yeah,
they were
very
lovely.
cool.
Yeah.
We've also got Fuzzy saying people hating Soul because it's a Ron Howard film. Yeah, maybe. I think it's a good movie. Anyway, so that's where it was Star Wars movie picks. In this kind of show, we've decided that we're going to pick Star Wars scenes. Not going to make it easy and pick actual movies. So each of the guys have selected 3 scenes that they love and 1 scene that they don't love so much. They don't know what each other's picked because I've kind of collated them all. Only time they're aware of it is if they've had a double pick and I've had to tell them to change one. So these are going to be as much of a surprise to them as they are to you. We ruled out this scene, the I Am Your Father scene, because obviously a lot of people would pick that one. So we decided to take that one off the board. So what I've done, guys, is we'll just go through in images section by section. And I think it's me to start. And I've picked this. So this is the scene from Obi-Wan, the end battle, as it were. I rewatched this today just to make sure it was as good as I thought it was. Now, I know there's a lot of criticism of the show Obi-Wan. This scene just has me in tears. It's just heartbreaking. First of all, I think it's got some fantastic action, some great Jedi action. Vader is absolutely stunning. The camera work and the special effects in it are beautiful. When it pans up over ahead of them and you can just see the blades flashing and things like that are absolutely stunning. And then when he takes Vader's helmet off, the half of the helmet off, and he sees Anakin behind the mask, and he says something like, Anakin, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And Ewan's before, I'm allowed to call him Ewan because we're mates. I met him at Star Wars.
Yeah.
But when you see the look in his face and the tears in his eyes, I just fill up. It's just that absolute heartbreak of him realizing that, you know, he's kind of done this. I just think it's a phenomenal scene, some amazing action. What do you guys think of that one?
It's not original. No, not as in your choice isn't original, as in this scene wasn't original. You know, a lot
because you guys have seen
this
it.
was plagiarized from Rebels, but that's not taking away anything because you know, seeing it in live action is obviously another you know, level, and ultimately I think it suits the moment, suits the relationship of Obi-Wan and Anakin. Maybe more than it did with Ahsoka, or it suited that, but it has more gravitas with Obi-Wan, you know, because of that big brother role and their history together and everything like that. So, I think it was 100% the best moment of the show, and maybe one of the best moments that we've seen in kind of Disney Plus kind of content so far, I think. And it felt worth it, you know, all of the sort of little niggles within this series felt worth it just for this whole scene. And it's massively sold by Ewan McGregor's performance, you know, that with the sort of teary-eyed, I'm sorry. I don't know, and I'll be interested in your thoughts, guys. I don't know if I was just being a soft so-and-so when I was watching it and I read too much of it, but at that scene where he kind of smashes Vader's helmet, and he says, Anakin, I'm so sorry, or I'm sorry, or whatever.
and Anakin kind of looks at him and says, I can't remember the exact words, but basically says, I'm not your failure. I killed Anakin.
Yeah,
Not
You
you.
didn't kill
And
Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, and I
did,
kind of thought, is that Anakin being a bit kinder? But then he all of a sudden switches to, and then I'm going to kill you, kind of thing. But it almost felt like he was trying to.
No, I think it's him
No,
like
yeah.
Nosh taking a defeat. He's like, you had nothing
Right.
to do with this.
Okay.
It was me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
making it clear that he's in control. He knows
Yeah,
what he's
yeah.
doing. He decided to be Darth Vader on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Efren? You like this one?
I think it's a great scene. You know, as powerful as Darth Vader is, I still think Obi-Wan is more powerful than him. I mean, he was his apprentice.
Yeah.
And I think if Obi-Wan would have kept his training, you know, obviously he wasn't training anymore as a Jedi. To me, he's more powerful than Darth Vader. And I think there's one more person, in my opinion, who's more powerful than Darth Vader also.
Okay.
I'll mention that in a few.
Okay. And again, you're right. I mean, Obi-Wan could have ended Darth Vader there and then because he had him beat.
Yeah.
You know, but he walked away.
And
Which
the
is
way he calls
interesting.
him Darth as well, which kind of
Yeah.
like makes it more sense in the original trilogy when he calls him Darth. But I had a choice of like 30 exclusive T-shirts at Star Wars Celebration, and I picked the one. I don't know if you can see it well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Makes
nice.
sense, this scene, you know. So yeah, I wanted a bit of variety in my choices, so I didn't. Otherwise, it would have just been 3 Darth Vader scenes. So,
Yeah,
but this would have been one of my picks if I just did decide to go all out on Vader. So yeah,
Good
amazing.
stuff. Good, good stuff. So that's my first pick. Efren.
I love this scene. It's at the end of Rogue One. When I seen this, I just love the way this is Princess Leia getting the plans for the Death Star at the very end of Rogue One. To me, it just fit perfectly with the episode 4 of Star Wars: A New Hope. I thought this was worth the whole movie just sitting through it, which I enjoyed a lot. But this one scene, I went, yes, I'm ready to see Star Wars again. I just love this scene.
And I mean, I think the special effects on that are pretty good. What do you guys think?
Not quite there, I think.
Yeah, not
I've
quite
seen
there,
I've seen some deep fakes of this scene that look a lot better. Yeah, but it's still, I think, the emotion of the scene.
Yeah,
it still works, and I'm still happy that it's a part of that movie.
It
is
gave
the
me
perfect
goosebumps.
closer for it.
Yeah.
I love this.
It was a brave choice that kind of cleared the way for the Luke Skywalker stuff and things like that. Like if they didn't say, right, we're gonna try this thing where we bring someone back from the dead, sort of thing, like we wouldn't have the various different versions of that and other stuff now. So yeah.
Again, a very emotional scene, Efren. I love it. It's another good one, mate. Oh, James, I wanted this one.
I remember sitting in the cinema and just like the movie Rogue One, it feels like it's coming to a close. It's kind of winding down a bit. And you have this amazing run with the Death Star plans. These guys get to this hallway and the lights shut off and you just hear the mask breathing. Yeah. And then the lightsaber comes on and everybody went absolutely ballistic. And we've seen, Vader's sort of power level. We've seen how powerful he is represented more, I think, in like the comic books and the video games. The original trilogy doesn't show that because the tech wasn't really there to do that at the time. So this is the first time it was like really showing how ruthless and powerful he is, that he just like slices through this whole group of rebels. The way he does, and like it's portrayed like a horror scene, and like there's so many little details, like when he picks the guy up, he usually chokes people, but he like crushes his throat. The way the guy with the Death Star plans goes from saying open the door to just take them, because he knows he's dead. It's just like one of the most perfect scenes in a movie I've ever seen. So yeah, I absolutely adore this one.
I mean, I saw this in the cinema, obviously, and I literally lost my shit because I think for me, exactly as you've just said, all of don't want to disrespect him in the past films, but he's quite sluggish. It's quite mechanical, the fighting. Do you know what I mean? This was just both ruthless, wasn't it? It was, yeah. I thought it was phenomenal, and it reminded me, having when I was doing these slides, we watched obviously all of we've seen the Ahsoka trailer, the Ray Winston character, the way he was fighting.
Yeah.
That kind of level of ferocity.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a bit heavier. Like that's how he looks. Yeah. He's going, more hard swings.
Ben, you a fan of this scene?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, James is absolutely right. It's as perfect a scene as we've ever had in Star Wars, and I think with Vader, the way you sell Vader is the fear of people the other side of him or the people around him, and that's so expertly done in the original trilogy by the various kind of Imperials and the betrayal scene, where Lando stitches them up, like that moment. As a child, you felt genuine fear because Darth Vader was there. It's all about the selling, and in this scene, every single rebel just sells that like complete fear perfectly, and it's stunning.
It's an amazing scene. Efren, I'm going to take it you're a big fan of this one as well.
Yeah, I love this scene, when he comes out and he just destroys everybody. But I think Vader, his persona is everybody just fears him because everybody else is basically human and he's not. And he just, he's a big bully, put it that way.
Yeah.
So that's part of his, persona. He just strikes fear without even having to hurt anybody. Just people look at him and they're just like, holy crap, in their pants,
Absolutely. Fuzzy's just saying in the comments, he needs to rewatch Rogue One. I'm surprised at how many rate it so highly. Yeah, mate, get on it. Have a good watch of that because it really is a very cool film. GP saying that he loves this scene, and Jack is saying quality scene as well. Yeah, I think that's a fan favorite, James.
Yeah.
Fuzzy's also saying, pardon me, Vader always reminds me of Jaws. Yeah, with that tension building, hearing his breathing build. Fuzzy, you're absolutely right, mate. I didn't really think about it, but you're right. It's like Ben said. It's just the presence of him, knowing he's there, and what happens next. But yeah, incredible. Ryan saying best scene in the film, along with the Rebel fleet hyperspeed jump. Yeah.
But you look at all the slashes like Jason, Michael. You hear the breathing before you hear anything else, like behind the masks and stuff.
Yeah. It's just the creepiness of it, isn't it? It's tremendous. Ben, your first pick.
Yeah, so Jabba's Palace, I think, sort of probably the kind of introduction moment, and specifically Max Rebo Band, I wanted to give a shout out to because, like for me as a kid when I first watched this, I had the VHS recordings of when they were shown on like normal TV. And so it was like really bad quality and stuff, but like just completely just blew my mind. And I think we had elements of it, with some of the creature work, the Wampa and Empire and obviously the Cantina in the first film and stuff. But this for me really kind of upped its game in terms of kind of just throwing as much kind of amazing creature creations out there. So yeah, it was it was a real sort of defining moment for me, becoming as big a fan of Star Wars as I am. The design is Phil Tippett. Oh, nice.
What's that?
Awesome. Black Series. Yeah, very good.
Oh wow. Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool.
I had to show that really quick.
Nice. Needs some dust. Yeah, so the Phil Tippett design is just immortal, really, and a lot of his work that he contributes to films really is. It was about 6 puppeteers that kind of brought Jabba to life, and I think that completely pays off, and it's just a masterclass in kind of puppetry and creature performance. Salacious Crumb. There's so many characters that kind of stand out, like guys, my thing for Twi'leks, right? And that started with Ula, essentially. The Rancor, not to mention Rancor, the Max Rebo band. Cy Snootles, like the when I first saw her, it was that Phil Tippett kind of puppet, rather than obviously the animated version that we got. There's obviously some criticisms about the upgrade in effects for this scene, but I do think it was elevated by Jedi Rocks. I think Jedi Rocks is a more fun song that kind of fits the scene a lot better, I think. I love the the character that sort of came with that and stuff as well. So, but yeah, very very special scene for me.
I don't know if it's a time thing or an age thing or whatever, but you guys know some of my criticism of Star Wars sometimes is the characters. So if I use, the recent Mando series, the Space Captain, feels silly to me. All right, the space pirate, and yet I look at Jabba and I look at all the things on screen there, and I'm completely with it. I don't know why I'm happy to accept some puppetry and special effects and others not.
Well, I'm curious if, say, we never had a Jabba in Star Wars, and then this was introduced in an episode of Mando, would you be like, "Oh, it's a giant slug. Why is that a thing?"
Maybe, maybe it's a childhood thing. Maybe because I saw them when I was younger, I'm more accepting of it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
because Jabba is a pop culture icon. You know, like everybody knows who Jabba the Hutt is. So it's like, I think when a lot of these practical effects are being reintroduced in things like Mando and stuff, and people find it almost hard to adjust back to the old ways of practical effects and you know, mouths that don't necessarily move, you know, the same time the person talks and things like that. But I just love the honesty of that. I love the kind of immersion that you get from that. It just feels more real. It feels more authentic, and this is just a masterclass. Also, shout out to Reese. Reese was like one of my favorite background characters. He's got like he's got like 3 eyes and a snout, and he's got like a deformed kind of like armadillo hands. Yeah.
He was one of the only figures, because I'm very old, Ben. He's one of the only figures that you could get very easily on the shelf back in the day. I don't know why, but his character was one you could pick up very, very easily.
And that's why I had it, and it was one of my favorites.
Yeah. James, I'm going to take it you're a big fan of this scene.
I love it, man. I love the seediness of it. You know, the criminal element of Star Wars is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Jedi Rocks. Like I can't really remember what that original song that they did in that scene. But like, but just me, it's like, oh, my fang, oh, my shake a shawa, and the guy singing, like, it was amazing. Like, I'll see it. Like, I love it. So, just like bounty hunters and criminals and, you know,
rogues.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic.
Lottie's just saying she's wearing a baby Yoda blanket. Very cool, Lottie. Nice. Very cool. ABZ, the trash compartment scene.
One.
That's not one that came. Efren, you fan of Jabba?
Yeah, I think this is what makes Star Wars so great. Is all these unique and different characters that they have brought into this universe. I mean, Jabba the Hutt, and you know, the Ewoks and everybody else that's been in this movie, you know, the series. I love this scene, you know, just introducing him. You know, he's a big slug, but it fit perfectly.
Yeah, it works.
Movie, you know, it works.
Very cool. Ben, am I right in thinking you'll tell us I've got the name wrong? Those little monkey tree things, the little thing sat next to him there.
Kowakian monkeys.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Oh, we're getting one of those with the new hot toy figure that's coming out.
Yeah, so Salacious Crumb is coming with the 3PO, and you can have him like chewing the eye out and stuff like that, which is nice touch.
Very cool.
Which makes me think a Jabba might be on the way from Hot Toys.
Could you imagine? I mean, they've done one before, haven't they? But it would be
Sideshow has one. So yeah, it will be interesting.
That would be and a Rancor. Anyway, that would be a fair size.
Rancor would be
very huge, wouldn't it? So that's the first of our selections. So moving back to me now. I love this scene. This is one of my favorite scenes. We'd seen up till this point Jedi's kind of one-on-one combat and things like that, but this scene it's Attack of the Clones. Is that right?
It's your scene, Peter.
I know, but I don't remember all the movies off by. But so Attack of the Clones, the arena scene. I think it's one of the biggest Jedi gathering scenes we've ever seen in the movies. Hundreds and hundreds of Jedi. We've got Yoda in the little dropship thing. Then he heads off to fight Count Dooku, I think. Just amazing. Just some incredible action. Yes, it's got cheesy bits, you know, but actually just seeing them all unleashed for that kind of first time against a massive droids and all the rest of it, I just thought it was phenomenal. So again, back when I went to see it as a younger man, this was everything. Seeing all the lightsabers, and I'm always a big fan of big kind of, you know, historical battle scenes and things like that, like your Bravehearts and all that. It's very accurate, but all that kind of stuff. And this felt like that. Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, every time Samuel L. Jackson's on screen, he just chews it up. He's amazing. And I know, Ben, it's got some of your favorite characters fighting in there as well. It just felt like the first time I actually saw how powerful an army of Jedi could actually be and what good they could actually bring to the world. So yeah, loved it. What are your thoughts on this scene, guys? Ben, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, like Genosha kind of was at the risk of being too similar to Tatooine, but I think they did a really good job with the kind of it's got like a deeper kind of red to orange sort of tint to the sand and everything like that. And obviously the Genoshan species is really sort of unique looking. So I think the setting was fantastic. Like the scale was amazing, and for me, as you can tell already, you know, I love Star Wars because of the creatures and because of the species and things like that. And this was just like a wet dream for me as a you know, young teenage boy. Like I'd always fantasized about having these kind of alien species as Jedi, and this just kind of gave me multiple versions of that. So I fell in love with the likes of Shark T, CC Tin you've got in the scene there, Ki-Adi-Mundi for all his flaws, and of course my favourite Kit Fisto, who gets like a proper kind of fun moment with the 3PO shenanigans. So Barisofi, you know, there's so many of them in this scene, and yeah, this would have been one of my choices, I think, potentially. This is certainly up there. Very, very fun scene.
Very cool. How about you, Efren?
I think what makes Star Wars, everybody loves Star Wars. Everybody loves the characters, but the fight scenes is what draws everybody's attention, in my opinion. You know, all these characters that, you know, showed up in this fight scene, I don't know them as much as Ben does, you know, and sometimes I don't, you know, I just don't, I'm not sure if they're in books or anything like that, or in films, but I would like to know more about these characters, you know, after I've seen this movie.
Clone Wars.
Known characters that I just don't follow.
Yeah.
But I love this scene.
Yeah, good stuff. James, you mentioned Clone Wars there. That's where people can go to find out more, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Basically, any character that has a unique design in this has at least one episode of Clone Wars dedicated to them, and many of them get very heavily expanded. But yeah, this is the Helm's Deep of Star Wars.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of, you know, there's a lot of parallels. You know, it's this kind of epic battle. They're kind of starting to lose, and you have, like, you know, Yoda come in with the clones that kind of save the day. Yeah, fantastic. Just seeing the Jedi in full force here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I have to say, and again, I know this is not the specific scene, but later on, and correct us if I'm wrong, guys, later on, this is where Yoda fights Dooku. Is that right? Count Dooku?
Dooku, yeah.
Yeah, Dooku. Up until then, we've seen Yoda in the swamp and all the rest of it. But we get that brilliant bit where he kind of waddles in and then takes his jacket off and and then starts bouncing all over. And I don't think we'd seen that before up till this point.
People hated it at the time, I remember.
Oh, well, I mean, I remember at the time just going mental, thinking, "Whoa, what? You know, this is phenomenal." But yeah, it was very cool, very cool. Efren, what we got here?
Guys, there are times when I'm watching TV and I'm like multitasking. I recently finished seeing Star Wars Rebels. I know I was late to the party, but this scene, I put everything down and watched this. I think this could have been a cinematic scene besides the one on TV. And I mentioned two people who I think could beat Darth Vader, and I think Ahsoka is one of them. She is my favorite Jedi. I must say, I just love this character. I can't wait for the new series to come out. I just think she's a kick-ass heroine, and I think she could have beat Darth Vader in this scene, but it ended, and we don't know who the winner was. But like I said, this is what Ben said. This was taken from Obi-Wan, was the one that took this from the scene.
Yeah. Same scene.
Yeah,
exactly the same scene. But I think it makes sense because Ahsoka is originates in animation, so it's an animated scene. Then Obi-Wan, that originates in live action, so that's a live action scene. You know.
Yeah, and the two people who knew him best were the ones that were able to nearly beat him.
That's true.
Yeah. And there's like an acknowledgement where like it's a different side of his helmet that gets cut open, I think, as well. So,
I wonder what would have happened to Ahsoka if she didn't leave the Jedi Order, how more powerful she could have been, you know. So this is my favorite scene of all time.
I've not seen this one, Efren. I'm gonna have to. You'll have to drop us a line one of these and tell us which episode it is.
It was in Star Wars Rebels season 2, the final episode. What was it? Twilight of the Apprentice was this scene was called, and I just love this scene. I mean, I just finished watching it a couple minutes ago again. That's how much I enjoy it.
It's really stunning, Peter. I think, you know, even without the kind of backdrop of Clone Wars or whatever, just like that, I am no Jedi, and the lightsabers come on. It's just goosebumps. Yeah, it's amazing.
Ben, I take it you're a fan of this one as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, Ahsoka's arc's quite fascinating, really, because she kind of rejects the Jedi Order, but without going to the dark side. And I think it's just been really interesting to kind of witness that. And I'm kind of interested to see that explored in even more detail in a series. So, yeah, just a great climax, you know, to everything that came before in Rebels, really, and Clone Wars.
I
Very
hope
cool.
in the Ahsoka series that Ashley Eckstein has a cameo in it. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I would say so.
Ah,
It's just
yeah,
a
it should.
little
Yeah.
bit here. Yeah.
Is that so? Pardon my ignorance. Is that the lady who walked past her?
Yep.
Yeah.
Me and Ben both. The Ben was fuming he didn't get a video of.
Well, I've got a zoom in of that in
yeah.
my video coming out tonight.
But it was so Celebration was so beautiful to see both actresses embrace. There was none of this kind of I'm on I prefer her to her or whatever. People respect the past and kind of look forward to the future of the character's legacy, and like even to the point some of the group photo ops with like Rosario and Ashley are just like I just love to see it. It's great.
Yeah, it very much felt like I know it's a cliche to say it, but when they were talking on stage and stuff, it did feel like a family kind of thing. It wasn't egotistical actors that all seemed like they were genuinely enjoying each other's company, which is what you want to see. I know it doesn't always happen. So yeah, great scene, guys. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one. I am now in love with Ahsoka, I have to say, from the trailer, and I loved her in the Mandalorian episode. Cannot wait to get my hands on the toy. But yeah, I'm over the moon with that. I really enjoyed it. James, there was lots of images I could have picked, but I went for this one.
Yeah. Order 66, my favorite kind of event in all of Star Wars. Really encapsulates the tragedy, I think, of Anakin's kind of fall to the dark side. This particular image, I'm happy you actually did put up because it's sort of the really point of no return, it feels like, for him, where he just kills these kids. And like the way the music is, even, it's not like a big kind of like actiony. It's just somber and sad, and you have there's even a cut of Yoda where he kind of falls down almost. It's just this. If you're following this trilogy, especially if you're watching it from the start, you have to see this hugely powerful and important aspect of the universe just completely collapse. And cheating a little bit because it's not necessarily seen, but just seeing this event from other perspectives and other things, like we've seen it in kind of Clone Wars and The Mandalorian and Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order. Just amazing. Yeah, I think it's really just an epic sequence.
And I mean, I'll come to Ben and Efra in a second, but in terms of a relatively, I would say, family safe series, and I know there's got some high drama in it and all the rest of it, this is horrific. This is loads of children being, I mean, you don't necessarily see it, but you know it, don't you? This is children being slaughtered en masse, which is a pretty brave decision for them to actually go full tilt on this, because there's no I know he does, but you would think there's no coming back from this, really, would you?
And I watched this trilogy. I watched the prequels before I'd seen the originals, so I didn't know Anakin was turning into Vader, and like for me, Anakin was the hero of the story, So like this is really like, and even when he, they say it earlier, it's like Darth Vader. I was like, no, I was like, there must be, just to see my hero of the story. Even though there's moments earlier on that's like, this guy's a bit weird. I didn't really see that at the time as a 10-year-old or whatever. So really heartbreaking.
Efren, what are your thoughts on this one?
This scene, this is why you can't forgive Darth Vader for all the atrocities he's ever done. It was a brutal scene. I mean, these innocent kids, just chopped down by Anakin. And just a little side note, and then in the Return of the Jedi, at the end when his ghost figure comes back and he's like all forgiven, I'm going, forgive this guy for all he's done. Everybody's happy, God, he's killed so many people.
Literally blowing up planets.
I mean, I guess that's what I mean when I said, because you're exactly right. Everything's forgiven. He's hugging and I mean, Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just the power of suggestion, isn't it? It's brilliant. Literally just one line, ignite the saber, and that's all we needed. Our imagination did the rest. I mean, the one thing I would say though is they're not as defenseless as like like a normal kid. Like all these kids would have ignited their saber and like tried to defend themselves. I mean, he would have obviously, he slaughtered them all eventually, but like I kind of would like to see. You probably couldn't do it because kids are shit, but like real kids are shit. But like these are Jedi kids, so they probably would have.
Yeah, they've been training all their lives, haven't they?
Yeah, one of them might have got a couple of defense, things in. But no, just a great power of suggestion thing.
And I mean, fair play to this young lad, Stan, for his performance, whether that's genuine or what. He literally looks like he's shit these
Master
pants.
Skywalker.
Do you know what I mean?
It's terrible. It's so bad. Like how like hundreds of kids probably read for that. Like how was that the best kid? Terrible.
Must be someone's kid, I think.
Yeah, related to something in the movie.
Yeah.
We do get George Lucas's kids actually do a couple of defensive things.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, on the way out. Yeah, he's like the teenage one or whatever.
Very cool. And am I right? Again, you guys are the experts. Am I right in thinking the scene we got recently in Mando with the character who played Jar Jar Binks, that's kind of following on from this bit? Is that right?
Yeah, it's like elsewhere in the temple or whatever.
Yeah, he rescues him.
Yeah. So a couple of comments here. We've got Lottie saying that Ahsoka is her favourite Star Wars character.
Shout out, Lottie.
Yeah. We've got Fuzzy saying the sheer amount of screen time. I think he's regarding the Clone Wars cartoons, Rebels cartoons. Can't see it happening. I was the same, Fuzzy. I'm kind of not got the time to go back. But as GP saying here, you can watch them pretty quickly, short episodes. Is that right, guys? Would you
20 minutes, 22 minutes a pop?
Yeah,
like I binged
or whatever.
Yeah, I binged all of Rebels in like a couple of weeks.
I'm going to try and do Rebels again before Ahsoka, I think.
Yeah. That being said, like if you really don't want to watch all of it, you could highlight 20 or 25 episodes of each.
I would disagree. I think you have to immerse yourself because if you don't watch it all, then you don't fall in love. You don't feel attached to the characters.
Well, you could probably skip some episodes because nothing happens in them.
I agree with Ben. Like I said, I just recently finished Star Wars Rebels. I'd never watched it before, and I'm so glad that I watched it. Just builds on Ahsoka, and now these characters are going to show up in her show too.
So is that
their history?
Is that in continuity then?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so that's all continuity.
Half of Ahsoka's cast is Rebels protagonists,
and I can't wait for Chopper. He's like one.
Yeah, Chopper is. I fucking love Chopper.
So little asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look. Lottie's also.
Chopper's me if I was a droid.
The saddest scene in the story, Lottie, I think you're. And Jack's saying that I'm sure he's George Lucas's son. Was that actually?
Not this one. He's older.
Okay, Efren. Oh no, it's Ben. Sorry.
No, I don't know what this is.
So good. I know what this is.
So this is from the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars kind of shorts or whatever. And this was the Battle of Dantooine. So what's it called? A seismic driver, right? The droids are using a seismic driver, which is like a massive piece of machinery that they use for like mining, but it stamps the ground basically.
All right.
And creates these massive like ripple things, and that's kind of involved. And you've got Mace Windu kind of trying to avoid that, and that just stamping out like hundreds and hundreds of clones at a time. And then you've got like an army of droids, and essentially Mace Windu wipes out. And I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds of droids, and it's
like a hand swipe,
force speeds, force punch, force push, force waves. Like he does it all. He does this like speedy kind of punch thing. He does things where he like removes all the screws at once, like just go, and all the screws go, and then the
what's this in, Ben? Sorry, just because some of the guys in the chat are asking what it's off.
So before the Clone Wars series, the
cartoon series,
movie and series, there was the Genndy Tartakovsky, which is where the kind of stylized animation style was sort of inspired from. And it was just a series of shorts initially, and then they did a second wave of them. Unfortunately, now it's not canon, apparently. But the second set of shorts pretty much leads directly into like Revenge of the Sith. So I in my head, a lot of this is still canon because I just think it's such a shame to kind of yes, Jack. I'm learning tonight that Jack's got impeccable taste. By the way,
I'm
Kid
seeing that as
Fisto,
well.
This
Yeah.
scene, what a guy. But yeah, just incredible. And you obviously in your head you have Samuel L. Jackson kind of doing everything that Mace is doing here as well, and yeah, just awesome. Love it.
So, I mean, James, I'm going to take it you love this scene. Efren, are you aware of this scene?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I've
I think this
seen
is a one.
Clone Wars. But was this like was this one of those 5-minute?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to go and check them out as well. But just want to ask you guys, Mace, massive character, superbly played by Samuel L. Jackson. Do we think he's ever coming back? Because there's been lots of rumblings and rumors that he might appear at some point, that he survived being thrown out the window and all the rest of it. What do you think?
For me, I do worry that death after death is just becoming less and less important because people come back. And whilst, you love to see your Darth Mauls come back and how influential he's been on sort of story arcs after and stuff like that, I do love to see these characters back, but I also think, and this is Marvel, are kind of treading the same ground at the moment where death doesn't mean anything anymore, and because of that, it completely removes the kind of emotional impact of a moment. So I hope he doesn't, but I would love to see some flashbacks or other era stories where he's at his prime, sort of thing.
Lottie is saying she's confused. Basically, Lottie, this was a short cartoon that was set before the Clone Wars, did you say, or during the Clone Wars?
During Clone Wars, yeah, it's Clone Wars.
So like the 3D one is the Clone Wars. This was just called Clone Wars. Yeah.
So it's a cartoon. It's not being. It's not a movie, obviously. I don't know. It might be out on Disney Plus. Lottie, have a look back and see if you can find it on that.
20th anniversary this year as well.
Is it? Oh, cool stuff. Okay, guys, we'll move on from this one unless anybody's got anything else they want to add. No, cracking. Efren, did you have one there? Yes.
That was mine, yeah.
Sorry, my apologies. So we're back to me, guys. James, this will mean nothing to you. So we've talked a lot, haven't we? Certainly previously about Book of Boba Fett, and then more recently about Mando. And I've said that I prefer really strong character-driven series. I love good writing and all the rest of it. And I know that Star Wars sometimes gets a bit of creative license with not being the best written stuff. But this is from Andor. This scene had me literally about heart pumping, and it's just perfectly delivered. Basically, this is the guy who's being kind of supporting the rebellion, doing all the wheeling and dealing, kind of treading a very thin line between light and dark, really. And he's as the series progresses, you see he's making more and more decisions that are ethically unsound. And then this guy basically, he asks the guy to do something, and this guy basically says, yeah, well, I'm sacrificing everything. What do you actually sacrifice? And he comes out with this speech, which I don't know, it was just phenomenal. And the bits that I highlighted there, what is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. And it got us thinking about actual historical context in terms of real life events. These resistance fighters that are actually doing what would be described as horrific things, really, but for the greater good, or whatever they might want to call it. I just thought it was amazing. I thought it was beautifully played. I thought the wording of it is superb. This, for me, is Star Wars at its best, when there can be a guy with no special effects just standing talking, and it almost brings us to tears. And it was a hard choice between this one, and Ben will have to remind us of the character's name. But later on, there's a scene where a lady's died, and she's kind of projecting a eulogy, and it's all about, letting the Empire get away with stuff and just ignoring what they're doing and how we've got to rise up. And again, that was just amazing. James, you've not seen this series yet. Please do.
I am. As soon as I'm home in Ireland, I want to binge it on a day, because I'm in a Star Wars mood now. You know what I mean? So I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Ben, What did you think of this scene in particular in Andor?
Yeah, incredible. Just an expertly written speech, delivered obviously by an A-class actor, and yeah, like Andor, this is kind of the best advert I think for Andor, and I think the themes of Andor really kind of highlight the hypocrisy of war, and kind of the atrocities on both sides, and I think this speech kind of encapsulates that. I know that Mandalorian is kind of treading that ground a little bit with the New Republic and stuff at the moment as well, and it's a really kind of interesting theme that is kind of being highlighted, I think, in Star Wars more recently. That because when you're a kid, it's like, oh no, the rebels are the good guys and the Empire are the bad guys or whatever. But like slowly, you're sort of seeing these cracks and stuff, which unfortunately, as you get older in life, politically you start to kind of see those cracks as well. It's like when I was a kid, it was very this and that, and now it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, but he's also chatting shit. So it's like you get to the point of like, who do you believe? And the rebels ultimately had to be terrorists, for quite a long time, and without that, we wouldn't have actually kind of got the rebels that we got in the end. So yeah, just really kind of compelling stuff, and I cannot wait for this second season.
So we got the trailer, didn't we? Was that an exclusive at Celebration? I know it came out at Celebration.
Didn't get a trailer, I don't think, or anything.
I wouldn't think they filmed anything.
No, I don't.
They
No,
just
they
announced
haven't.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the announcement, was it?
Or announced when it is, maybe.
I mean, I've said repeatedly, I love this. Is probably one of my favorite Star Wars series because it's got some good battles in it. And I know there's a lot of criticism from people saying it was slow, but actually I liked that building storyline and some superb sections in it. Efren, you fan of this?
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong. This is like the infancy of the Rebel Alliance, right? But this is one of the people who started it. So this is what I enjoyed about the scene. I was like, looking at history of Star Wars, how things started. I'm not an expert, nowhere near what Ben is. So to me, I was like, wow, this is cool. I like the way they're doing this because they're showing, exactly what happened. For Star Wars fans, I think this was an excellent series.
Good stuff. James, check it out and then let me know what you think.
I will be.
Efren, classic.
Guys, when Star Wars first came out, when this movie came out, I was 20 years old. I just looked it up. It came out in 1980, and I was there to see it. And the introduction of Yoda, this scene when Luke Skywalker told him it's impossible to rise it, I can't do it. And then you see Yoda sigh, and then he uses the Force. At this age, I remember, God, I wish the Force was real. I wish I could be part of a Jedi. This was an excellent scene, seen in the movie theater when it first came out in 1980. And that's why I picked it. Even now, just looking at this scene, I went, dang, what an excellent scene. It brings me back to my early adult life, before any of you were born. So
I was born, Efren. I was born.
You were?
Yeah. An amazing scene, Efren. An amazing scene. And I have to say, I think we'll probably all agree, if any of you are going to be a Jedi, it would be you, mate. So yeah, I can see that. I can see you rocking. I can see you rocking the robes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
James, you a fan of this scene?
It's an amazing one. Really, like Luke's the whole mentality of like, oh, I can't do it, and just to show how, like, despite how small and frail, size matters not.
Yep.
He lifts this. He does this impossible task. Yeah, phenomenal. I think absolutely.
And how about you, Ben?
Empire.
Yeah, it's just a great shift, isn't it? With Yoda's character, because when we're introduced to him, he's this, bumbling, and he's silly, right? And this was like the moment where you're like, oh no, actually, he's a Jedi Master, like, and this, and the whole mood shifts, and it's beautiful with John Williams' score, and love it.
Another amazing pick, Efren. James.
Kenobi. Yeah, this is amazing. Peter, I don't know if you know anything about the scene, Randy, at all?
Nope.
No. So this is in Star Wars Rebels. But this is sort of the cap to Darth Maul and Obi-Wan's storyline. So Maul is sort of a presence throughout season. It's either 2 or 3. 3, I think.
3, yeah.
And he's looking for Obi-Wan. He wants his kind of revenge. And he eventually finds him on Tatooine, and they have this duel. But it's not.
Sorry, so this is after Phantom then.
This is right before A New Hope starts.
So he comes back to
pretty
life.
much.
Does he, Darth Maul?
Oh my God! Wow, we'd have
He's,
to.
He was sliced in half,
he's a long way behind. We're going to have to get Luke's whiteboard out for you.
See, but
Listen, we haven't got
Peter,
time. Move on.
You saw Solo. He's alive in Solo. Remember?
Is he?
Yeah, with the
he's
mechanical legs,
he's the
right?
guy. Yeah, at the end.
Oh,
Rising
yes.
Sun.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
he's a big presence in Clone Wars as well. Like you find out about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is his whole journey to find Obi-Wan. He eventually finds him on Tatooine, and they have this duel. But it's not like an epic back and forth. It's literally like
Quickest fight you'll ever see.
2 hits. And basically, Obi-Wan's kind of using the style of fighting he does in like A New Hope against Vader. It's very kind of calculated.
Yeah.
Whereas Maul tries to use the same move he uses on Qui-Gon that he killed Qui-Gon with on Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan just sees it, and it's like slice, and it's just like over so quickly. It's just and then they kind of they embrace each other, and they have this really kind of beautiful moment about like, is Luke the chosen one? But yeah, just a really amazing. Like, I think the only thing that would have made this better was if it was live action. If we'd seen this in, in Obi-Wan season 2 or something. But I think regardless, just a really amazing, touching, and kind of epic moment in Star Wars.
I guess what I'm hearing here, guys, is I need to go back and watch the cartoons. Don't
I? There's some amazing stuff in it, Peter. Really,
and comics and hours on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Ben, anything to say about this scene?
It's a beautiful scene. Like the kind of the lack of showmanship to the fight itself is surprising. I think as soon as you see this pose, you're like, oh, it's gonna, but it doesn't. As James said, it's just 2 strikes and it's over. And when they're embracing, there's almost this kind of peace that overcomes Darth Maul. When he sort of realizes that the prophecies or whatever were true, and it's almost like a moment of kind of kinship for the 2 characters right at the end of his story, which is a really sort of interesting thing to witness. So very very beautiful scene.
Good stuff. Nephrin, you fan of this one?
Yeah, I mean, this scene was from Star Wars Rebels, correct, James? It's been a while since I've seen this.
Yeah, Rebels.
I love this. This is what makes this series one of my favorite Star Wars series of all time. It was not, to me, it wasn't well publicized. I didn't see it until years after it came out. And I'm glad I got to binge it all, basically. And this is another great scene that I'm starting to remember about it. Go, God, yeah, he was there. So, and I like the way it builds on the character of Darth Maul in this series. Also, it gives you more insight of who these characters are. You got to watch the series, Peter. It is so good. The only thing I didn't like is that it ended. Put it that way. I wish there was more.
Well, it's continuing in live action, isn't it?
Yeah.
In Ahsoka, so yeah.
And that means, Peter, you've not met his brother, Savage Opress.
Oh, yes.
He's a fantastic character.
Yes.
Is that Darth Maul's brother?
Yeah, green.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Clancy Brown.
Okay. Right. More stuff to watch.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah, so I'm going to come in with some sequel love because, I don't think we're going to give it a lot of love on this show. But, for me, The Force Awakens was such a special moment for fan base. That it was such a long time, since we were kind of able to see a Star Wars film in the cinema. And I remember seeing the first trailer and just seeing BB-8, kind of run across Jakku, and it just completely sparked my imagination. It took me back to that childlike state again, and I was so excited. And I remember this opening scene, just completely feeling immersed in it again, and just the way it was shot was just like, it was just a really well put together scene. You obviously have Kylo Ren kind of doing his thing. I think they call it the massacre of Tuano, which is like the settlement where it is on Jakku. And it was amazing because you never see blood, in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So when this kind of bloody hand came and did that, like it just felt like a really kind of iconic moment as it was happening. And of course, we've never seen a stormtrooper, underneath the helmet. And so when Finn or FN 2187 takes off his helmet, and we kind of get this panicked young man who, and again, it's like it kind of links to Andor a little bit in like not everyone in the Empire was necessarily an evil warlord like Darth Vader. You know, some of them were kids raised from birth, you know, just to fight for what they, you know, the only reality they were taught. And I just felt like that was one of the most interesting elements of the whole sequel era, was that Finn was kind of this hero who was in a completely sort of different life for so long, and I just immediately sort of warmed to his character. And of course we get to meet BB and Poe, and their kind of back and forth is just very Star Wars from the off, that kind of friendship with the droid. And you know, James used the word earlier, but magical is how I felt watching this first scene. And I know obviously as the sequels went on, you know, maybe that quality sort of dipped, but as a start, it was a great start.
I'm with you, Ben. I saw this in the cinema, obviously, and that first scene was just breathtaking. Am I right in thinking
the blaster?
I was just about to say, am I right in thinking this is the one where he stops the blaster? Because I'd never seen that before, so that's what I liked. Cool. It was very familiar, the scene with the, you know, in terms of stormtroopers and blah blah blah. But then you got these bits that I just thought, wow, never seen that before. And again, like you say, ruthless. It was a great. I liked that movie. I have to say, out of the three of them, I think that was one of my favorites.
Oh, I dare I say prefer Force Awakens to some of the prequel stuff.
Yeah,
that's completely fair, I think.
Efren, how about yourself?
I think what made this scene in this movie great for me is because I didn't think there was going to be another Star Wars movie after 3. You know, there was a big gap, and I think sometimes it's good that there's a big gap between movies, you know, like at least 4 or 5 years, because the anticipation of it, you know, builds up. And to me, I just couldn't wait to see this film and this scene. To me, it's what turned Finn, you know, against, it wasn't the Empire. What were they called, Ben?
First Order.
First Order. But I had a question for Ben really quick. He probably knows this. Why were the clones... Why did they stop making clones? To me, it would have been easier to manipulate them than having regular people become stormtroopers.
You want to watch The Bad Batch?
I have been watching it.
Yeah, season 2 is kind of obviously going into that, because ultimately canon-wise, we don't necessarily know. There's been some stuff in Legends, but I think The Bad Batch season 3 will give the final confirmation. I think there's going to be like a mini civil war where the last remnants of the clones that haven't either been quietly dispatched or you know, because their lifespan's shorter than normal people, so they do die off, so they would have naturally died off anyway by the time of these films.
Now I'm about 3 episodes away from the ending of Bad Batch. I haven't seen it all yet.
That's good.
Yep, cool.
Very cool. James, anything to add on this one before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the first scenes of new Star Wars. Like, I remember sitting in the, you know, you have the opening crawl. I cried during the opening crawl of episode 7. Like, it was just so much to take in.
I actually went to the premiere and then went and watched it at midnight. So I was in the crowd at the premiere. I got John Boyega's signature, and then we went at midnight straight after to watch it at the cinema.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Great day.
Yeah, you know, for this shot particularly, that iconic kind of, kind of blood down his face. Yeah, fantastic.
Also, I want this Hot Toys, Peter.
What, with the blood?
Yeah,
is there one with the blood?
Yeah, I don't know if it was an exclusive, but there is one with that comes with the blood and the John Boyega head sculpt and stuff.
Wow, very cool. I didn't know that. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining, mate. I think I always prefer the prequels to these, as it just had more originality. Not much granted, but more than a carbon copy of A New Hope, which is sadly what this film became. It was very, very, very.
But I don't know whether that's completely fair, because like we've literally just spoke about a scene which is based around a whole new element of a story that we've never had before with the Stormtrooper and things like that, you know. So I do see a lot of the similarities, and I do think it completely preyed on people's nostalgia, you know. Absolutely. But I don't think it's fair to completely say that. And I think Last Jedi had so much new stuff going for it that sadly it bottled in the end. But
yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. So that was all of our top picks. I think everybody give them our top picks. Now we're going to look at some of the one each of the worst scenes. I think. So
I feel this is going to get heated.
Yeah, I think it's going to get messy. So I don't know. I think most of us are going to agree. I think we'll all probably chin Efren. So these are were worst picks. So I'm interested in the chat to know what your least favorite scenes in Star Wars are. For me, my first one was kind of the absolute destruction of a character that I had in my mind for a long time, and this was the end of that whole scene. I don't know, it diminished Vader for me. It took him from being this kind of scary badass to kind of, I don't know, that the voice didn't sound right. The kind of it was shite in my mind, and it spoiled the character. James, you disagree?
I love this scene.
I knew it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love the scene. I think it's that moment of Anakin disappearing. I think really, truly, he screams it out of him almost. I feel there is a cut of the. I've seen someone re-edit the scene where he it's not a no, it's like a scream. It's actually, I think it's more effective. Cool. So I would agree with that. But no, I mean, I think this is Anakin becoming Vader. I think this is as iconic of a scene in this series as it gets. And I love it all the same.
Nah,
I'm with him, I'm afraid, Peter.
Come on.
I enjoy the melodrama of it all, because ultimately a lot of Star Wars is that. And I like James said, I do think if anything could have been changed, it was just a no line to a scream to whatever. But just hearing the breathing, for the first time in that prequel trilogy was just put my hairs on end, and it felt like a love note as well to the Universal Monsters Frankenstein sort of scenes and Bride of Frankenstein and stuff. So I kind of like that element to it.
Yeah,
as
it
well,
was very Hammer horror kind of Frankenstein coming off the. Yeah. How about you, Efren?
Star Wars. Movies 1, 2, and 3, we basically seen this to see how he became Darth Vader, and I think this was an excellent scene because of that. This was the climax of all the 3 movies.
Yes, Efren.
I just love this scene. Sorry, Peter. This is why I want. How did he become Darth Vader? What happened to him from childhood to adulthood? And this was the climax of it all. So yeah, I really enjoyed this scene.
I mean, it's nice that you all enjoy it, even though these are all wrong. Chris, it's got to be the insane cringe fest that was Annie and Padme leaving for the first kiss. All that was missing was the raindrops keep falling on my head. Okay, moving on, because you all agree that was right. Efren.
How dare you?
I just hate this scene.
Cover your elephant ears, Max.
Sorry. Just the scene of Return of the Jedi size snoodles. The scene, I go, what is this, man? I just every time I see it, I just cringe. I'm like, this is, I don't know. I just didn't like it. The singing was terrible. I thought it was too cheesy. I like the first Cantina scene when, A New Hope. That one I enjoyed, but this one, it just, And Peter, you told me Ben when I chose this one, it says Ben's going to have an argument with you. Sorry, Ben.
Ben, do you agree with Efren's?
Well, it's awkward when I picked it as one of my favourites. It's awkward, but no, I mean, out of interest, Efren, you've obviously got the image here of the updated effects version. Is that what you hate, or I mean, do you remember the original sort of size Snootles puppet and how that looked?
Yeah, I just think the character
is
looked too
this
weird.
Version you hate, or is it just the overall? Okay,
it's her lips, dude. Her lips just got on my, just look weird to me. Her whole body and just her.
I just look at that and see a good time, to be honest.
Yeah, her singing was terrible. I just didn't like this scene at all, man. That's just cringe-worthy. Peter asked me to pick one. This is what I chose.
Yeah. How about you, James?
I love it. Fang, shikisha, wow, wow. It's iconic as it gets. I love it.
There he is. I told you he looks like you, James. I look like the guy on the fucking harmonica at the back there.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Yeah. Just not my cup of tea. This either.
The audacity of this.
I think I preferred the puppet version. I think it's a CGI for me.
I don't really remember, or I'm very familiar with the puppet version.
A lot of people really hated a lot of the choices, George. Yeah. But ultimately, George, did that special effect, updated, versions of everything, because those are the films he wanted to make. Like, he often felt very limited by what he could do, originally. So, like, and the sequel era, like, people forget Jar Jar Binks is one of the first fully CGI characters to be in a film. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have so much stuff. So, yeah.
Just going to quickly, before we move on to the next two, Jack's saying worse is either Luke dying or Rey saying she's a Skywalker.
Oh, poor Rey.
We've got GP Luke getting milk. Yeah.
I love that scene.
No. Ryan, Luke throwing away the lightsaber in Last Jedi. Yeah, that was rough. Lottie saying, my dad says from the beginning of Phantom Menace to the end. That's fighting talk.
That hurts.
Promiscuous Time Traveler, thanks for joining, bud. The sound effects are making it much better for our watching pleasure. You're welcome. We've got some very talented people on screen. Connie, my worst scene is where Leia uses the Force. Space Angel Leia. Yeah, back into the ship. Yeah, that's a shit. Yeah, you're right. The kid holding the mop or something after being inspired by the rebels. I rolled my eyes.
I like that.
Yeah,
I think that's a nice cap to that movie.
Now, Ben,
killing me in the chat.
Ben, brace yourself. Anything with Jar Jar in it.
How dare you?
I wonder if that kid that was with the broom at the end. I wonder if they're going to bring him into the movie with Rey.
It was set up to do
that's
something.
Actually, entirely possible.
Yeah.
He'll always be Broom Kid now, like, even if he's like in his 20s. Broom Kid.
James, your pick is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. just being utter dog shite.
This is pretty horrific. Yeah. So this is the kind of the colored scooter mods kind of scene, and just even those characters in general for in the Book of Boba Fett. I think if this wasn't in here, people would like not shit on Boba Fett quite as much as they do. Like, I think the rest of it, you'd be like, oh, there were some really great parts and some like okay parts, but this was like awful, like horrifically bad. And I don't like, it just felt like, people kind of say Teletubbies-esque, like, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. The chase scene even itself, regardless of like the multicolored moped thing, isn't very interesting or exciting or anything. And
it's awful.
I just think awful. It felt very out of place in the Star Wars universe, which is weird, because it's like Star Wars always pulls from historical kind of things.
I'm sorry, James. I'm just going to stop you for 1 second and just point out that Mr. Crampton's now crossed his arms in fury. He's not done that all night, but now the arms are well and truly crossed.
Right. Go on. Let's do this.
I can feel Ben, you can't, surely. You can't.
Good luck defending this.
Mighty Morphin Jedi. You can't defend this, can you?
I remember this being a hot potato on my show as well. And look, if I was a 10-year-old watching this, right, it's Power Ranger colors, in Star Wars. Each kind of character has their own different mod or whatever. There's a lot of things there that I probably would have quite enjoyed as a kid. It's also a lovely kind of reference and nod to George Lucas's love of old 50s cars and the kind of mod culture and things like that. So there are elements to it that I realized that in the grand scheme of things, it probably felt a little bit out of place, but I like that, Star Wars is a galaxy, right? So it's like, there's going to be things that look very different to like, I like the variation, like.
But this is on Tatooine. Like, it's not another planet. If this was on Coruscant, it'd be like, all right. Tatooine has a vibe to it, and an aesthetic, and this is just
Can we just agree that Boba Fett was pretty naff?
I think there's some great stuff in it, Peter. To be honest, I think it gets a hard time without a huge amount of reasoning.
I don't want to open old wounds. I know we fell out the last time talking about.
Let's do a show about it.
No, let's not. I just want to jump back to Fuzzy because as ever, Fuzzy always kind of just jumps in with the perfect. Because I'd forgot about this Fuzzy. And this is child Leia doing parkour in the forest.
I completely forgot about
that. You're
pretty
right.
bad.
That was that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
She
pretty
was amazing at Celebrate. I watched the panel, the Obi-Wan panel, and she's like Leia, you know.
So articulate as well for
Yeah,
like,
so
being
clever.
so young. Yeah.
Andy's pointing out 12 mirrors on the peak.
It's
You
not
never,
practical.
you
It's
can
a lot
never
of,
have
you know,
enough
yeah,
mirrors.
it's Tatooine.
You know what I
There's a
mean?
lot of stuff going on. You need to make sure
dust in
you're
the
covering all
air and
grounds.
stuff. And Connie's saying, I'm assuming I missed the best scenes. So my top three are the end of Rookie. Oh God, yeah,
Yeah,
we've had that one.
It's mine.
The bit where, the bit when Rebels were
Kanan.
I don't
Maybe skim over that.
Yeah.
Peter.
The entire Clone Wars episode where they go to Mortis. Yeah, good stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Jack, I like it. I like it. Love campaign coming into the. Yeah.
Seriously, Jack, did we just become best friends tonight?
Yeah. I think is that we're doing. Oh no, Ben, we've got your last.
Yeah. So,
scene.
and look, I know earlier you guys were celebrating Solo, and I there's so much to love about Solo, right? I do think Aiden,
Aaron Reich.
Aaron Reich, you know, was fantastic. I think he did an incredible job. I absolutely love how Junus has kind of taken the mantle from Peter Mayhew as Chewie. I loved like Rhea Duran and who's the one, Val and Beckett, and I love so much about Solo, but I hate the way Solo looks as a film. Like, it's one of the darkest films I have ever seen in my life, like to the point where I've never had to do this, right? I had to change the settings on my TV just so I could see shit on like as it plays out. And the scene where Chewie meets Solo is like something as Star Wars fans you've fantasized about and you've imagined, or you've come up with your own theories for years and years and years and years, right? And so there was just so much riding on this moment, and I do like the idea of them meeting in this kind of muddy jail cell, you know, and having a little mini scrap and then working it out. But you couldn't even see it. This shot here is a picture from production, right? So if you get a screenshot of the film, it does not look like this. It looks dark as hell, and you cannot see it, and the saturation's awful. So that is why I have chosen this scene as one of the worst, because it should be such an iconic moment, and they just made some horrendous production choices in terms of the edit and lighting.
I don't remember thinking it was that dark. Maybe
Neither do I. I saw it in the cinemas, and I didn't have a single issue with the brightness on it or anything. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's your TV, wasn't that, Red Ben?
No, I think the cinema changed their settings to help people.
Yeah, I mean, Efren, what about you? Do you remember this scene?
Oh, sorry, guys. My daughter. I'll be back in a second. Sorry about that.
We'll take that as a yes.
Okay.
Everyone loved this scene. Ben, there's a few interesting things here. Jack is saying that he'd love to be your best friend. I mean, Jack will have a chat. And Fuzzy saying, careful, Jack, he might be high maintenance. Yeah. Couldn't possibly comment. Couldn't possibly comment.
Unbelievable. What is this?
Hello, Roscoe. Nice to meet you, John Bud.
Hey,
Hope you're to have everyone for it. We are, mate. We're talking all things Star Wars. So that is some of our worst scenes. But I think it's fair to say, overall, we all absolutely love Star Wars and would take the good with the bad.
I think I've realised tonight that I don't take the bad at all.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been real fun, guys. Really enjoyed that. Thank you very much for your contributions, and thank you to everybody in the chat. We've had quite a few people watching, so appreciate that. Next, we're going to do this. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to do top 3 scenes from Marvel Phase 1. So just the Phase 1 movies.
So hard.
Yeah, so just the Phase 1 movies. All right. That'll come next month. So the movies will be picking with scenes from Captain America, First Avenger, Iron Man 1, Hulk, the Iron Man 2, Mighty Thor, and the Avengers movie. So top 3 scenes and the worst scene each as well. So that'll be the next one of these shows that we'll do. Next on my kind of Monday Lives, we've got Geeky Art Attack next week. where we're talking turtles, and we're going to be doing all kinds of interesting turtle images. Efren, I need to have a chat with you because James isn't going to be around, so we'll need you to either man the show yourself or find someone else to help with.
Thanks, James.
Sure will, man.
Sounds
Then week after that, we've got our spotlight on Scooby-Doo. That's going to be an interesting one. Really looking forward to that. So we're going to be, thank you, James. We're going to be looking into his history, media appearances, what merchandise is out there, and recommending some cartoons and reads for you to go back and have a look at. Just to quickly mention, Chris is saying there, in fairness to the franchise, over the amount of films, years, characters, creators, and so on, the standard has always stayed pretty good. Always going to get some bad mixed in with the good. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So, just want to quickly mention this. So for my Let's Talk Toys show, we're doing a subscriber giveaway. All I need you to do is be a subscriber to the channel and send us a picture via Instagram of your favorite action figure or toy to be in with a chance of winning this mighty Thor set. So have a look at that. If you like toy content, I've got a shitload of videos coming out. My next one is Alien Warrior from Hot Toys. So that's out this Thursday, I believe. Benjamin, we mentioned your celebration store video earlier, but you just want to mention that again, and also your short.
Yeah, so I did a vlog of Star Wars Celebration. So if you want to get insight of all the cosplay props, everything that was on display, some of the stalls, and just a little bit of an insight into my experience, head over and check that out. One of the things that I did pick up from Celebration was a Hot Toys Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back. So did a little showcase video. So if you head over to the Shorts tab on my channel, you will be able to watch that, and it's just a gorgeous little figure, a real fun one to do. I even did you see my special effects in it with the rocks?
Yeah, I've not seen it yet, to be honest, Ben. I haven't
Calls himself a fucking friend. Unbelievable.
Have you seen it, James? Have you
No,
watched
of course
it?
he hasn't.
No,
None of you have.
I'm still on holidays, man.
I wonder where all my views are. If not even my closest friends can watch. Please go and watch.
Chris is saying nice picture of Yoda with his lightsaber. Absolutely. Well done, chaps. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, mate. Connie saying she might use the next show as an excuse to rewatch Phase 1. Absolutely.
Need to refresh.
James, I couldn't find you in the slides. So I thought you might as well prompt this again. Do you know what I mean?
Come
You've
on,
not
man.
mentioned it. You've not mentioned it for a week. You know.
I know, right? I did. Surprise here. I did a Last of Us live show weekly, so there's individual views for every episode of that show. So that's on my channel. I believe next week, so on the topic of live shows, we might be doing a Mario review. So we'll try and get a few of us, and then Jedi
James, yeah?
on my channel, and then Jedi Survivors out at the end of the month. So I'd say I'll give it a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then we might do like a story kind of recap or something like that on my channel as well. So yeah.
Good stuff. Efren, just some of these to mention.
Before I do that, anybody who wants to know anything about Star Wars, we have Ben as an expert. And anybody who wants to know anything about The Last of Us, we have James as an expert. Every time I've been on videos with you guys talking about Star Wars or The Last of Us, you guys know so much. And I just want to say I appreciate that a lot. You know, I like Star Wars, but I'm nowhere near the fan you are. So, which is,
thank you.
Good.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
I do my usual reads of the week. These are 1 minute shorts where I just talk about a book that I enjoy reading, basically. And Peter and I, we also do our monthly picks of the week. And did you know this is just like trivia of superhero books, movies, TV shows, whatever I feel like talking about. These are also 1 minute shorts.
Good stuff. Okay.
I'm proud of it.
Proud of it, mate. Proud of it. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. This has been a real fun show. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much to the chat. I think we had 17 or 18 people in at one point, which was great for my little channel. So really do appreciate that. It's been lovely that the chat's been buzzing with lots of interaction.
I think we could do a part 2 for this.
Yeah,
I know. I'm thinking that. Yeah. I'm enjoying the worst scenes as well because I like watching everybody's faces. Yeah, let's just.
And it's,
Yeah, so
should just pout.
yeah, too special power. Yeah, yeah. So, Roscoe, don't you come in with it as well, mate?
If that's not the Quactor calling the Stifling slimy.
Oh, absolute nerd. Yeah, absolute nerd. You've just proved the point. Thanks. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody that's watched. Thank you very much to everybody in the panel. A particular thank you to Ben and James, because I know you guys are fresh from celebration, and it's been a long weekend, so I know we're all tired and knackered. So
Wouldn't
thank
miss
you
them,
very
man.
much. Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.